Another possibility is to do an examination of debtor, an order of examination. This is where the court issues an order to the judgment debtor to show up at court and answer your questions about what they might have that you could collect against. Order of examination is nice to actually get the person physically there where you can talk to them, get them to answer questions under penalty of perjury, so you can, if it turns out to not be true, you can then, bring them back in, challenge them, seek orders of the court, etc. And if they don't show up, you can actually have an arrest warrant issued to haul them back in, which, just as a general rule, that tends to get people's attention. The form that is going to be used is Judicial Council Form AT-138. It's also the same, it's EJ-125. They're the same form. Caption is just what you'd expect. And you under where it says application and order for appearance and examination, you are generally going to be checking the enforcement of judgment, and assuming that you're bringing in the judgment debtor, it's going to be the judgment debtor. Third person is where somebody else is holding property for that person, or is perhaps another person who owes the judgment debtor money, and you're trying to get information about the money that they owe them to seek an assignment order. But typically it's going to be of the judgment debtor, and then you fill out the information who it's to in line 1, explain why you're doing it in line 2, which is typically going to be checkbox A, and for Sacramento courts, you actually get to calendar your own date. They used to require you to actually apply, and then they would issue you a date. It would be pretty far out, but you can actually choose your own date, keeping in mind that you need to give appropriate time for service, but you would choose any date. It's going to be, I believe, Tuesday through Thursday in Department 44 at 9 a.m. This information is available on the court's website, and I suggest that if you go and you click on the civil link on the left-hand side of the page at www.saccourt.ca.gov, and I would suggest that you check that information anytime you do this, because it's subject to change. Typically, you're looking at these being done in the presiding judge's department. Presiding judge's department is actually 47, but Judge Height, who's the current presiding judge, likes to do business out of his former department, which is 44. So keep in mind when there's a new presiding judge, this may change. Likewise, the procedure that the court uses is also subject to change, so be sure to check. The signature line that you see, the first one, that's going to receive a judge's stamp, so be sure to leave it blank as well as the date. And instead, you get to fill out all the information down at the bottom. And you get to indicate who you are, whether you're the judgment creditor, the assignee of record, or the plaintiff who has a right to attach. You're going to indicate the name of the person you're seeking the order against, who they are, that they're the judgment debtor, and you need to indicate there are a few boxes to indicate whether or not this isn't the court in which the judgment was entered, or whether there's been another examination in the previous 120 days. As a general rule, the court doesn't want you to keep dragging people in again and again and again. So if it's been less than 128 days, you would need to attach an affidavit explaining a good reason why it's been less than 120 days since you hauled this person into court. And usually that's going to be because the person lied through their teeth or did something subsequently that made enforcing impossible. Now, the upside of these is that you get a lot of information. And how many of you have ever done an examination of debtor before? Fun, aren't they? Yeah, not really. Procedure, what you're typically going to do is you're going to check into the department, the witness is going to be sworn in, and you're going to be sent off to talk privately among themselves. The judge is there to essentially issue orders. Fun technique to try during your next examination of debtor is take a, have a turnover order with a few blanks to fill in, ready to sign by the judge, and see what the person has carrying around with them in their wallet. If you are dealing with a judgment debtor who likes to carry around a large wad of cash, and you can track through your questioning the source of those funds to a non-exempt source. Yeah, if the judge is in a good mood, you may get him to actually sign the turnover order to get the what's in the person's wallet or a portion of it, which also makes a big impression on the judgment debtor. If you are entitled to it all, I suggest you be nice though and leave them enough money to get out of parking or bus fare home. But courtesy counts. But it definitely makes a big impression, and if somebody gets their wallet cleaned out by you, if anything encourages them to be willing to work with you on installment payments or something, that usually gets their attention enough. One thing that I will warn you about on these examination of debtors, if anything lets the other side know that you are gunning for them, that's it. They've just walked into court, they've been sworn in, you've asked them a bunch of questions about where they work, where they bank, all of these things like that, and I would expect to immediately see many of them transfer all of their funds into a different bank account, or a different bank, I should say a different bank altogether, just to keep you from being able to touch them. So you'll want to act pretty quickly, if at all possible, after the examination of debtor, but it's useful for getting a lot of information. The cost to do a order of examination when you file it with the court, it's $60 to do this, but as a free bonus, you can also get a writ of execution at the same time thrown in for free. Which is kind of nice, because if you do that, by the time you go to your examination, you'll have a writ of execution right away, which you can then immediately run and seek to collect. Now, given the court's current backlog on filing things, having that writ of execution already issued, given that it normally takes them up to a month or more to get them out right now through the backlog of papers they're filing, is really nice, because that means you can immediately go and have the sheriff enforce the judgment as soon as you know what they've got. So the rule on where this examination can take place is it has to take place within that the person has to be within 150 miles of the courthouse. So people oftentimes will go, 150 miles? Well, that's 150 miles from Sacramento. As you can see, it reaches pretty much all the way up to Redding and down to the outskirts of Fresno, all the way to the Nevada border, and if you find somebody living in a small island out in the San Francisco Bay, it reaches to them as well. So you've got a pretty large area that you can actually pull people into the Sacramento court to do an examination of them. And as far as fun enforcement, the closer they are to the ring of that circle, the more of an impression it may make on them. Just saying. This brings us to what I like to call advanced topics, or dumpster diving for fun and profit. And I would like to, at this point, give to you my 5 rules of dumpster diving. Now, dumpster diving, I know it's kind of funny, but believe it or not, I think one of the best resources for finding out where a person banks, where they work, what assets they might have to collect about, is actually in the trash. It has the advantage of not tipping them off that you are actually looking for them. So if you find out that they bank at Goliath National Bank or wherever, because they have statement envelopes from that bank, and you find that out in their trash, they don't know that you're necessarily looking for it, and they're not going to clear out their money. Likewise, you occasionally find some truly useful information as far as other assets that they might have, and even though a lot of people shred their trash, they oftentimes don't shred the envelopes. They don't shred. Sorry. Even though a lot of people shred their statements and things like that, they often don't shred the envelopes and those little informational inserts that let you know where they're coming from. And really, that's what you need. You don't need all the specifics, like the bank account numbers or anything. All you need to know is, where do they bank? What property do they own property? What county is it in? Things like this. And my 5 rules of dumpster diving. Rule number 1, do not trespass. General rule on trash is that once it is placed for collection at the curb, out on the public street, it is discarded. It does not belong to the person anymore. Therefore, you're not taking it from them, you're not stealing it. But before they put it out there, you are first of all potentially stealing, and second of all, you're probably entering onto private property, and I don't want anybody committing any crimes. So do not trespass. Do not go up the driveway. Do not enter into any private space. Do not open any doors. Do not break any locks. Has to be out on the public street. The other thing that I want to point out is that a lot of localities have different ordinances that you're going to want to check out that have been passed because people like to rifle through trash for recyclables. So they sometimes pass ordinances prohibiting this. If you're going to have several judgments, and this especially, it may be worth talking to the local PD and just say, hey, I know this is sort of a weird request, but if I were to look in somebody's trash and maybe take something, is that a crime or anything that you would bother me for? Hey, safe than sorry. Rule number 2, don't get caught. Now, it may be legal, it may be permitted, but I don't know of a single person who reacts well to finding somebody rooting around in their trash. At the very best, it's embarrassing. At the very worst, it's dangerous. So, general rule, don't get caught, especially if the person is going to know who you are. Rule number 3, wear vinyl gloves. It's icky. Don't wear anything that absorbs. Rule number 4, pay attention. People throw away a lot of scary, dangerous stuff. If it looks dangerous, don't pick it up. It's just money that you're trying to collect. It's not worth taking any sort of risk to your health. And rule number 5, do it somewhere else and do it outside. People take their trash out to the trash can and they pack it up in these wonderful little plastic modules called trash bags. Just pick one up and go. If you're really paranoid about them, replace it with a dummy bag. Police do that all the time, by the way. But do it somewhere else. Don't open it up right then and there. Just take it somewhere else, nice outside, look, see if it's going to be useful, make sure you don't make a mess, and then throw it away. Now, in all seriousness, I know that, I know it's not glamorous, but all things told, I probably have found more useful information in a trash can over the years than I have in most other techniques. So if you don't like the idea of doing it yourself, there are others who, investigators that are more than happy to do this for a fee. But seriously, something to consider adding to your tools.